ביאור משנה ד'. Explanation for משנה ד'. לאחר שנשנו למעלה, after we already established in the previous Mishnahs, המעלות שעשו חכמים בקודש על התרומה. They said that sacrifices, the level of קודש, is higher than the level of תרומה. באה משנתנו ללמד, our Mishnah comes to teach us שיש בתרומה חומרות שאין בקדושים. So you think that it's all over the board. He says, no, there are things that Truma is more strict than Kodashim. The other way around. So it says, let's see. Chomer betruma mi bekodesh. How is Truma more strict than sacrifices? Number one, שביהודה, בארץ יהודה, in the land of יהודה, נאמנים עמי הארץ, even the non-learned people, were trustworthy על טהרת יין ושמן, on the purity of wine and of oil. When it comes to what? When it comes to sacrifices. So if you lived in Yehuda and it comes to sacrifices, the wine and the oil you can buy from not a learned person. You can buy it from Am Haaretz if you want it for sacrifices. And when can you buy it from Am Haaretz? Kol yemot hashana, all the days of the year. Shene'eman Am Haaretz lomar, because even a non-learned person is trustworthy to say, Yain ze shemartiv b'tohara, this wine I guarded in purity, leshem nischei hamizbeach, and I guarded it for the sacrifices. Shemen ze shemartiv b'tahara leshem menachot. You need to give a wheat offering. Yeah, this oil is for the wheat offering, and I guarded it for the wheat offering, and he's trustworthy. Why? Why would you trust Am Haaretz? So the answer, even the whole year, usually you don't trust them. So we're going to, I think we learned it also before, that there were some things that it was impurity, it was taboo. People did it no matter what. Like in Sephardic families, there's no such thing as meat and milk. In Ashkenaz, you would find it. It was like, we'll die for it. We don't keep anything else, but this it was kept. Shemishum chumrat hakodesh, because of the strictness of the sacrifices, nizarim amei haaretz ve'einam meshakrim. You can trust them, and they don't lie. They don't want to make money. They'll rather make less money than think that, the end of the world if I did such a thing. In their mind, it's the end of the world. It's like a taboo. Aval am haaretz she'amar, but if you have an unlearned person that said, Yain v'shemen elu tehurim vehem letruma, if they say they're only pure for truma, einau ne'eman, is not trustworthy. She'en isum tum'at hatruma chamur beinehem, because they're not worried about truma. In their eyes, truma is not such a big deal. It's truma, kodashim, that's the end of the world. But in the heads, truma, it's not such a big deal. וחוששים שמא שמשקרים בה. In other words, they were not strict about truma, but they were strict about kodashim. So we trust them for kodashim, and we don't trust them for truma. בגמרא מבואר, in the Gemara it explains, שדווקא ביהודה, this specifically, which Am Haaretz who lives in Yehuda, not in Israel. שדווקא ביהודה נאמנים לעניין קודשים. They're trustworthy when it comes to sacrifices. אבל לא בגליל, but not in the Galilee. לפי שרצועה של ארץ הכותים הייתה מפסקת בין גליל ליהודה. Why not in the Galilee? Because the Kutim were in between. And the Kutim did not keep all the rules correctly. And it was a separated culture. It was the culture already changed. So until that place, you can say the culture is, they go crazy for sacrifices. After that, we're not quite sure. ואי אפשר היה להביא משם יין ושם לירושלים לשם נסכים. And the rule was, you don't bring from that country wine or oil for sacrifices. Why? Because the Kutim are there. You don't trust them. מפני שגזרו טומאה על ארץ העמים. Because even though it was in Eretz Israel, because since the Kutim lived over there, we said we're going to consider it as the whole, anything that comes through here is impure. Any product that comes from the Galil, and they have to come through the Kutim now, so that's it. That product is impure, we don't trust anybody. Next one. ובשעת הגיטות והבדים, at the time you make the oil and you make the wine, בזמן דריכת הענבים בגת, at the time you press on the grapes in the trough, ובזמן עצירת הזיתים בית הבד, at the time you take the oil out of the olives, נאמנים אף על התרומה. At that time they are trustworthy also on truma. In other words, throughout the year they're trustworthy on sacrifices and not on truma because they're not careful. But at the time they're pressing it, the wine or the oil, we're going to trust them. לומר שהיא טהורה, to say that it is pure. Why? Because לפי שהכל מטהרים את כליהם. Because the whole land, it's the time. So everybody, you tell to the workers, go to the mikveh, go to the this, the vessels, that's right. Everybody is pure at that time. כדי להפריש תרומה בטהרה. Because everybody knows that truma has to be taken when you're pure. עברו הגידות והבתים, but after the time for pressing is over, לאחר שעבר זמן דריכת הענבים בגת, או זמן עצירת הזיתים בבית הבד, והביאו לו עמי הארץ לכהן חבר, and a regular person, a non-learned person, brought it to a kohen, and we say the kohen has to be a חבר, על טהרת התרומה, חבית של יין של תרומה, ואמרו שהיא טהורה, and they say, don't worry, this is pure, because it's truma, לא יקבלנה ממנו, you shouldn't receive it from him. לא יקבל הכהן את החבית מעם הארץ בחזקת טהורה. I mean, he can receive it, but not the level of it. It's not pure for you. You cannot use it for truma now. שלאחר הגיטות והבתים אינו נאמן. Because after the pressing, is not trustworthy. Just trustworthy at the time that we know everybody is pure. Now we know it's pressed, everybody is pure. After a week, 2 weeks later or a month later, and he's bringing you wine and oil, he did it on his own in his backyard. I'm not sure that he made the purity the right way already.
So who would suffer for this? The Kohanim, because they wouldn't get the value. If it's not pure, then they can't use it.
No way. Kohanim don't suffer. Kohanim just sell it to the market.
Yeah, they had to sell it for less money.
Yeah, but not much less.
Or to use it for
by the way, I don't know which was less, which was more. By the way. Because the Kohanim have surplus. They don't need the pure food. And I'll tell you what the problem is. You're not allowed, if it's pure, you're not allowed to defile it. So you had extra pure. You had too much pure probably. So but the value of the pure was, I think, less than the value. You know the markets. I'm just imagining that's what would have happened. Because everybody gives him pure. And only he can eat it. Nobody else is allowed to eat it. The value of it, I think, you can buy it for peanuts on the market because you don't have clients. Only the clients are the Kohanim, and they already have too much. So there's too much product in the market, I think. So it's actually I think that maybe even the Kohen would prefer that it's impure, that I can sell it now in the regular market. So just have this in mind, how it becomes complicated. Yeah? But I'm not sure. You have to go back to the time to see actually how it was in the market. But I think what I said is correct. אבל מניחה לגת הבאה. But what can he do? This עם הארץ. He can store the oil and the wine. Look what he can do. To the next time they press oil and wine, and then he can bring it to the Kohen, and then the Kohen is going to assume it's kosher. Until that. עם הארץ היודע, the non-learned person knows, שלאחר הגיטות והבתים אינו נאמן, that after the time of the pressing of the olive or the wine is not trustworthy, מניח חבית זו לזמן דריכת האבנים בגת בשנה הבאה. He can leave it, his barrel that he did, for the next time. ואז יתננה לכהן, and then he will give it to the Kohen, שבאותו שעה נאמן עליה, because it's the time, it's like, we have a similar concept. It says, עם הארץ אינו משקר בשבת. You ever heard of such a thing?
Oh.
You ever heard such a thing? That even an עם הארץ doesn't lie on Shabbat. So he says, what do you mean on Tuesday he would lie? So he says, yes, Shabbos by him, it's on a higher level. It's like a taboo. I don't lie on Shabbos. It's one of the things. So on a Tuesday, he might lie to you. Next Shabbos comes around, he's not going to. So the same thing, it's a period of time. In this period of time, he doesn't lie. That's what the assumption is. Just like Shabbos. Just like on Shabbos, he won't lie. In this period of time of the year, everybody was scared. It was like every housewife, religious and non-religious in Israel, cleans chametz on Pesach. That's what they do in Israel. You don't have to be so religious. Any Sephardic housewife will clean the house. On Pesach, if you bring, she'll tell you, no. What, you're not worried about it? No. On Pesach, I'm worried about everything. It's the time of the year that makes it. ואף על פי שהכהן מכירה שהשתקד, even though the Kohen recognizes, hey, this is from last year, יקבלנה ממנו, he can receive it from him. שלא גזרו משום טומאה בשעת הגיטות והבתים, okay? Because there's no decree by the rabbis of impurity at that time of the year. It's like a Shabbos time of the year. ואם אמר לו עם הארץ לכהן שלא בשעת הגטות, and if the עם הארץ, the non-learned person, told the Kohen, this is not at the time of the pressing, הפרשתי לתוכה רביעית קודש, and I put inside of it a quarter, a measurement of קודש, הפרשתי בתוך חבית זו רביעית הלוג לנזחי המזבח, I took a certain amount, I put inside for the sacrifices, כלומר שיש בחבית כשיעור התרומה שהיה צריך להפריש ועוד רביעית יתרה, it had a allotted amount that was necessary for the sacrifices, שהפשירה לנסחים, ועדיין בתוכה, and it's still inside of it, then he's trustworthy, because he's not going to mix sacrifices with truma. He knows that sacrifices, this is the level of sacrifice. He's not going to combine it with truma. So if he combine it with truma, it shows you that he actually thought it was sacrifices. It's the same level of the sacrifices. נאמן על כל החבית שהיא טהרה. Then he's trustworthy on the whole barrel, that the whole barrel is pure. שמתוך שהוא נאמן על הקודש בה, because if you would, the same way you trust him on the sacrifices, כמו ששינינו ברישא, like we explained in the beginning, נאמן אף על התרומה. He's also trustworthy on the תרומה. כדי יין וכדי שמן המדומאות. So, jugs of wine and jugs of oil that are דמאי. דמאי again, we're not sure which one they are. כדים מלאים יין או שמן שעדיין לא הפרשו מהם תרומה ומעשרות. That you still did not take from them tithing or תרומה. וראינו שעם הארץ שמר על טהרתם, and we notice that this person was guarding on their purity, כדי להפריש מהם יין לנזחי המזבח. He says, no, don't take from them. This is I'm going to use for sacrifices. Yeah, even though usually it will be dmai, because you don't trust him on tithing. Okay. Or shemen lemenachot, or oil for sacrifices of the wheat. ונמצא חולין וטרומה וקודש מדומאים בעורבים בקדים אלו, and you find that it's mixed up, נאמנים עליהם, exactly the same thing as before. Since in his mind he's thinking about purity of holiness, we're going to try, it's not dmai anymore.
But he's thinking about the kodashim.
Yeah, because that's right. He's thinking about, if he would only think about truma, we might be there. Yeah. ונאמנים עליהם עמי הארץ. When, again, בשעת הגיטות והבתים. At the time, when is it taking place? At the time that everybody is making olive and oil. כלומר, שנאמנים הם גם על הקדים עצמם לומר שהם טהורים. And furthermore, over now they're also trustworthy not only on the content, also on the vessel itself. שמתוך שנאמנים על הקודש שבקדים, since you trust them on the sacrifice, on the food that's inside of them, נאמנים הם גם לקדים. Now you're trustworthy also on the vessels. שהגניו לקודש, because he's not going to put a sacrifice inside a vessel which is not on the level of sacrifice in his mind. שיהיו הקדים שיראו מהם בחזקת טומאה. Because he knows this is dmai. He's not going to put a sacrifice in a vessel that he knows the Kohanim are not going to accept. He's not going to do such a thing. והוא קרב אל המזבח, that because he knows this goes to the altar. I cannot give it to the Kohen, he's not going to accept it from me. So if he put it inside, it means that it's Kodesh. וקודם לגיטות 70 יום. And also, when is that place? So it says, that the time. So it says 70 days. ואפילו קודם שעת הגיטות והבתים עד 70 יום, until 70 days. 70 days for what? For the vessels. Because the vessels were made, it's not like today, that the vessels just can be found in China for plastic. They had to make clay vessels and they had to be pure. It was all thing. They will start doing all the things 70 days beforehand. עד 70 יום, until 70 days. So all the vessels that are made 70 days. Just the vessels, yeah. So the vessels that are made before the time of the pressing of the olive and the olive of the olive for a month and a half, no more, for 2 months, for a little bit more than 2 months, they're all kosher. In your mind, you don't trust the Amaretz, you don't trust him the rest of the year. But for this, you do trust him because he knows this is going to go for the Tahara. ואפילו כושר הגיטות until 70 days, נאמנים הם על טהרת הקדים הללו. They're trustworthy on these vessels. לפי שדרכם היה להכין את הקדים ולטהרם, בשביל היין והשמן 70 יום קודם הגיטות ובתים, because that's what people will do. Everybody would go, it's a special cleaning in Israel. Everybody will go, they will go to the mikveh, they will make all the vessels clean. It was a whole, a big thing in Israel. You know, you can imagine. Just like Pesach cleaning today, that was the one it was there.